Latest on the group of passengers stranded at sea. Their coronavirus-infected cruise ship is trying to dock after 4 people have died and many on board are reporting flu-like symptoms.
The breaking news about the coronavirus and the report of the first American to die from the illness. This comes as a cruise ship passenger diagnosed with the virus is speaking out about her ordeal.
Okay, so we've all been getting cabin fever being stuck at home during the COVID-19 crisis. For a moment, though, think about the Canadian crew members who've been stranded on cruise ships, some for more than 7 weeks at sea.
Oh, yes, we all remember those days, don't we? We're going to come back to talk about what happened with coronavirus on board cruise ships, the measures that cruise ships are putting in place, some of which we discussed in earlier videos, some that are brand new, and we're going to come back and talk about them right after this. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for staying through the intro. As always, please make sure you click that subscribe button. Click the little bell notification. That way YouTube will let you know every time I upload a brand new video. Also, if you'd like to support our channel, click the join button. That's $4.99 a month. It supports our channel and gives you perks like special videos that are only available to members, merchandise that we put out, discounts on cruises, and a lot more. So consider that if you like our channel. Now today we're going to talk about cruise lines and what they're putting in place so that we can all start to sail safely come December of this coming year, at least as of right now, December 1st. So we all remember at the beginning of the pandemic that cruise lines, the Pacific cruise lines that were stuck in foreign ports, they were quarantined literally for a month while people were getting sick and other people even died on board. Cruise lines, unlike land-based vacations, is a floating community. There's really nowhere to go when you get sick. So it's very hard to compare a cruise ship to a land-based vacation. For instance, on a land-based vacation, if you get sick, you go to the hospital. On a cruise, if you get sick, you're still stuck on the cruise line where you potentially could infect other passengers. Well, there's only one way that the cruise lines know to do this, and that is to keep you safe by restricting some things that have never been part of a cruise before, and making it so the cruises are safe for everybody, both the crew and the passengers that come on board. So the first safety technique is going to be testing, 100% testing of passengers and crew for COVID-19 prior to embarkation. That's right, if you're going on a cruise, be prepared to get a test when you come on board to see whether or not you're positive for COVID. Now that means more than just a test of your temperature. They're going to actually be testing for COVID. I imagine they're going to have rapid testing right there at the port. And if you do test positive for COVID, certainly you're not going to be able to board. What is unknown is whether or not they're going to give you a refund or whether or not they're going to make it so your entire party can't board. That's something we're going to have to find out as time goes on. As I said in earlier videos, I cannot stress enough, it's the best time to buy cruise insurance, which will help you should anything happen on board. Cruise insurance does cover COVID-19 as long as you don't have COVID when you buy it. I'll put a link to some great insurance down in the description below this video. Yes, you guessed it, and the next one is something that a lot of people don't like. Mandatory mask wearing by all passengers and crew aboard and during excursions whenever physical distancing cannot be maintained. So that means, yes, you are going to have to wear a mask, both on board the cruise ship when you can't physical distance, as well as when you're in ports of call or on shore excursions that you purchase through the cruise lines. They are going to make sure that you wear these masks, and we're going to talk about that a little later in the video. The next one, and this is obvious, is social distancing. Physical distancing in terminals, onboard ships, private islands, and during shore excursions. Now, the cruise lines have lots of ways that they're going to be doing physical distancing, and we're going to talk about one that most people don't know, but it's being discussed on the internet right now, is that you'll be physical distancing on board because there'll be less people on board. Right now, the cruise ships are only booking to a limited capacity. I'm told it's around 60% of the normal amount of people that are on board a cruise ship. So you'll see physical distancing when you're in the dining rooms, physical distancing at the buffet, all kinds of just physical distancing. And one is something that's coming up now that Carnival has been doing, and it's really upset a lot of people, is that they are moving cabins around so cabins aren't right next to each other. Now, families that book cabins that are right next to each other are now finding that one of those cabins might be moved to another physical location on board the cruise ship. And I know this is frustrating. Families want to be together, but unfortunately, the cruise lines really have no way of knowing when you board that ship, just because you're together as a family, whether or not you came as a family from the same house, whether you stayed together, or whether you're family that lives in different locations. So they need to physical distance you as well, as they don't really know who belongs to who and who stays together. Yes, I know it's frustrating, guys, but we live in a COVID-19 world. The cruise lines are struggling to get back to normal. And while changing cabins or making it so you can't go to the buffet and serve yourself, you have to have the crew serve you, little things like that might seem irritating. It's what the cruise lines need to do right now in order to get us back to cruising safely. The cruise lines, as I said, #1 priority is to keep you and their crew safe. That means they're going to go above and beyond what the CDC orders are for them to do on board, because let's face it, it's their ships. And the last thing we want to see is a ship stuck in port because there's an outbreak because they didn't take these additional necessary steps. And then they up on one of those videos I showed you at the very beginning of this video. Nobody wants that to happen. So give the cruise lines a break. Understand that this is just a part of the norm for now. And if you really don't like it, I'm going to explain to you at the end of this video what you can do. Okay, the next strategy is ventilation. Air management and ventilation strategies to increase fresh air on board where possible, using enhanced filters and other technologies to mitigate risk. So while the cruise lines have been down the last 6 months, they have fundamentally changed the way air is filtered on board the cruise ships, installing UV filters that will desanitize and eliminate 99% of all bacteria and diseases, to better air filtration systems throughout the entire ship so that your cabin gets better fresh air. You're also going to find windows that are open in strategic places where it's safe to do so, which will blow fresh air on board to the ship, allowing fresh air to constantly circulate. Next is medical capability. Risk-based response plans tailored to each ship to manage medical needs. Dedicated cabin capacity allowed for the isolation of other operational measures, and advanced arrangements with private providers for shoreside quarantine, medical facilities, and transportation. So basically what this means is the ship is going to have a better medical plan should something happen. From doctors that are trained for COVID-19 to specific areas of the ship that will be designated to quarantine visitors if you become sick, so you're not in the same cabins with the rest of the population and on a different ventilation system, to having hospitals already pre-selected and doctors pre-selected on shore, both in the ports of call and at your port what you're leaving from, that they can take you, that'll be well aware that you're coming from a cruise line and have the medical professional necessities to take care of you in a proper manner. And this is another one that people absolutely don't like, and it's about shore excursions. Only permit shore excursions according to the cruise operator's prescribed protocols, with strict adherence required of all passengers and denial of rebooking for any passengers that do not comply. So right now, we don't know if you're going to be able to just walk off the ship and go enjoy a port. I think that a lot depends on the port itself and what their regulations are. But it may be possible, like over in Europe, that you have to go purchase a shore excursion in order to get off the ship. If that happens, it's going to have to be a shore excursion that is purchased through the cruise line. And every shore excursion operator has to certify with Carnival that they will report anybody who refuses to wear their mask when social distancing is not possible while you're on your excursion. And if you refuse to wear your mask or you deviate from the shore excursion, you will not be able to board the ship when you get back. Over in England, that happened. A guy bought a shore excursion, but then decided when he got onto the pier he was going to sneak away and go into town, and then was very upset when he got back to the ship and they would not let him back on board. It can and it will happen. The shore excursions are not going to risk losing their contract with the cruise line by letting you get away with not wearing your mask on a shore excursion. I promise you, if you don't, the cruise line will deny you boarding getting back on board the ship. This is going to be a CDC requirement, and this even applies if you're in a country that doesn't require wearing of masks. If you're on that shore excursion, even in a country that doesn't require your mask, and you fail to wear the mask, you're still going to be denied boarding when you get on back the cruise ship. I know nobody likes wearing masks, but again, these are just extra steps the cruise line is taking to make sure that nobody brings the virus back on board. So what do you do if you just don't like these principles that the cruise lines are putting in place to make you safe on board? Do you think they're unfair? You don't like the fact they're moving your cabins? You don't like the fact that you'll have to wear a mask on board? The answer is really simple. Just don't cruise. These are going to be the requirements for the immediate future, whether you like it or not. So to get on board and complain that you don't like them doesn't really make much sense to me. If you don't want to wear a mask on board, I understand you don't have to. Almost all of the cruise lines right now are waiving penalties for rescheduling your cruises that are in the immediate future to another date where we won't have these requirements down, because as time goes on, certainly we're going to come up with a cure, a vaccination, or a treatment for the coronavirus, and these things will no longer be needed and cruising will get back to normal. But until then, these are the policies. If you don't like them, it's simple. Just don't cruise. On the other hand, I'm really grateful that the cruise lines are putting these policies in effect. I'm cruising in January, and I fully expect I will go. And I want to know that the cruise lines put into effect plans to keep me safe on board. Actually, it'll be safer on board a cruise ship than it'll be safer at your local Walmart. So I, for one, applaud the cruise lines. I'm glad they're taking these places and putting these into effect to keep us safe. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. I'd really like to know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd really like to go and keep this an open discussion. So let me know in the comments. I'll be watching them, and I'll see you guys soon up on the Lido deck.